Our mission this morning is to ask you to editorialize very strongly in favor of education reform legislation that should be based on the bills that the governor and the mayor of Boston have filed, which would, among other things, significantly increase the opportunity to expand and create new charter schools in the cities of the Commonwealth where kids are still really struggling and where charters can make the largest difference. But it would also create a whole bunch of avenues by which the best practices of charter schools can begin to spread more rapidly into the traditional school systems, which I know is something of great interest to you. I think this is a now or never moment for Massachusetts, where you have the pressure and the opportunity provided by the Race to the Top funds that at the federal level, the $4 billion plus fund that is going to be distributed probably in no more than 10 to 15 states. And the president and the education secretary have made it very, very clear that states that are not embracing the leading edge of reform are going to be severely disadvantaged in that competition. And they further said that the caps on charter schools should be removed, and they're looking to do that. I think that one of the reasons this is a now or never moment is that some of our elected officials who frankly had hoped that they could spread reform without more charter schools reluctantly came to the conclusion that that was not going to be possible. And so you have the governor and the mayor, who were not proposing charter schools until very recently, really changed their position. And I think that they have come to understand that charters are good in and of themselves, given the mounting evidence of their superior performance, particularly with urban populations, but also the opportunity for charters to expand will increase the willingness of various interest groups to be more flexible and to work with them to implement some of these reforms in the regular school system. So I think we have the leadership of powerful political executives, we have the incentive of the federal funds, and we have the mounting evidence that charters are making a real difference. I think one of the reasons that charters are making a real difference is that they have been free to reimagine education for disadvantaged youngsters and what it's going to take. And it's just very, very difficult for the established system to do that. It's very cumbersome. There's a lot of resistance to change. It's kind of a classic business situation where, I mean, anybody at the Harvard Business School will tell you that large established institutions of any kind find it very difficult to reinvent themselves, to innovate from within. And it takes external challenge often to do that. That's really what is playing out here. And charters, in this case, are the vehicle, and we realize they've been very polarizing, but what this is allowing us to do is to have a vision of making progress on what we think at the Boston Foundation is one of America's greatest unsolved problems, which is the very large numbers of mostly minority youngsters who year after year are dropping out of school or in some cases graduating without the skills to succeed in college or go on. We're just churning out whole generations of young people who really have no shot, particularly in a region like this where most of the new job creation, as you know, is going to require some form of post-secondary education, let alone a high school degree. This coalition has come together, I think, because people realize that we all have an enormous stake in this, and it just can't be decided by the interest groups alone.
We're seeing in this bill an opportunity not only to deliver reforms that we know are working, the results are in, but also to make sure that the Race to the Top funds that are potentially on the stake are delivered into the state to energize and expand reforms throughout the state and to benefit all kids. So that's why we're here. We're here because this is, as Paul said, it's an incredible moment of opportunity. We've had kind of a 16-year dry spell on education reform, and there's a moment here now where we have this alignment of leadership, and with support from the public, I think there's an opportunity to move the legislature.
I'll just very briefly add to that as a membership organization, our members actually vote on the kind of work that we do. And last year, our members voted on a 3-year agenda that'll take us through 2011. And one key piece of that agenda was supporting legislation that what we're calling innovative and investment legislation that helps all kids succeed. So, as Leslie said, in fact, the majority of our members in our communities are not in districts that this legislation would impact at all. But they recognize this as an opportunity to both help close the achievement gap and qualify Massachusetts for potentially hundreds of millions of dollars in funding that our members really feel like can't be left on the table. In a time where every single one of our communities is going to be struggling with cuts. In fact, we expect cuts coming out today or possibly tomorrow from the governor's office. Our members know that this is an opportunity to really come to the table and say, we're not only going to support what's right for kids, particularly kids who've been in schools who are just absolutely failing them, but we're also going to use this as an opportunity to bring funding into our state to do something really innovative and different, which really excites a lot of our members in both communities where this impacts and communities where it doesn't at all.
You know, the correlations are so striking between, you know, poor education and, you know, crime and incarceration rates, drug use, out-of-wedlock births, I mean, you name it. And if you can move these kids up the education ladder, a host of seemingly intractable social ills begin to melt away. It's just incredible.
What is the time imperative here? What is this window chronologically?
Well, the qualification date is
so
December 1st.
the Obama administration set December 1st as the initial date for states that were going to take action on raising charter caps. It may be pushed as late as January, but the official date that's out there is December 1st.
Okay.
California began passing some of the legislation they need to do to qualify just this week, and there's some LA Times stories on that. Schwarzenegger has been very upfront